welcome back to our channel. I'm Danielle, your resident romantic.
And I'm Lindsay, the fantasy fan, and we are friends.
Till the book ends. So a little while ago, we did a video recommending you books to read. If you like this, you're gonna like that. Well, we're doing something a little different because we're going to recommend you TV shows or movies to watch if you've read one of these books. I'm going to go ahead and get us started. I'm going to start with You Had Me at Hola by Alexis Daria. If you have read this book, it is very much Latin soap opera-y, oozing with a little bit of fun sex, but also love and like so much drama going on. So if you have read this, I would recommend that you watch Jane the Virgin.
That's a great comparison.
Lindsay knows it. I binged Jane the Virgin at the end of last year, and then at the end I was like, I don't know what to do with my life now. And Lindsay suggested this book. She was like, it kind of has the same vibe. And I read it and I was like, you're right. So it's very much similar in that both the show and the book are very drama focused because first of all, this one, the main characters, Jasmine and Ashton, are both an actor and an actress in, I believe it's a soap opera. Is it actually a soap opera?
A telenovela.
Right, that's my bad. Telenovela. And in Jane the Virgin, her father is an actor in telenovela, so there's like a little bit of overlap there. But then there's also romance between the two characters, but like, should we be together? We shouldn't be together. And then there's also romance in Jane the Virgin because Jane has quite a few possible suitors and quite a few love options to go with. Jane the Virgin also focuses on, she has a little kid to take care of, and in this one, Ashton also has a little son that he's extremely protective of. That's mostly all the comparisons I have, but I may have missed any. Lindsay, you have both read and watched, yes?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Are you missing?
I don't think so.
Okay, good. Then that is done.
So, if you have watched Bridgerton, which I think everybody except Danielle has watched Bridgerton.
I know, I haven't watched it. I plan to, though.
I think that you would really like the book Bringing Down the Duke by Evie Dunmore. There's a lot of similarities between the two, mostly that kind of like Victorian England setting, and also the two dukes that are in it. One is the Duke of Hastings, who might be my favorite character that ever has existed within a TV show. But the Duke of Hastings is very similar to our Duke character in the book, who is the Duke of Montgomery. They're both kind of emotionally stunted men who struggle with vulnerability, but also have kind of like a tragic past, and it makes them a little icy towards the female characters, their love interests and stuff. And I also just thought that the vibes were very similar because Bridgerton took that like Victorian England setting but made it like fun, and I thought that Bringing Down the Duke was also more kind of like feminist, a little fun, a little like witty, and it wasn't like stuffy at all. So I think that the two give off very similar vibes, and I think that if you liked Bridgerton, you should definitely read Bringing Down the Duke.
Alright, I'm gonna be honest. Most of you have heard about the Selection series. If you have not, the basic premise is that you have America. She is just a girl from like not a far off town, but a town surrounded by the kingdom, not really involved in the monarchy kind of thing, but she gets selected to be in this competition. She gets selected to be in this competition where Prince Maxon gets to choose who's going to be his bride. And I think it starts out with, what is it, either 13 or 24 girls? Like, it's a fairly large lot of girls, and there are not quite competitions, but little talk show quizzes to be like, so what would you do in this situation? How would you be a good support system for Prince Maxon and stuff like that? And every once in a while there are cutoff points where it's like, okay, I can only keep these 10 girls. I can only keep these 7 girls. I'm down to these 4 girls. But this very much is similar to The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. So if you've read this, you're going to enjoy the TV show. If you've seen the TV show, you're going to enjoy this. Both of them are very filled with, like, catty drama between the women, but also, like, trying to impress a guy, or vice versa, because this has a follow-along series. I don't know if the series is called The Heir, but the first book in the series is called The Heir, and it's basically the daughter of America and Prince Maxon. And now the guys are in the selection group.
Oh.
So I have not fully read the series. I started that one. So both of them match The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. I think it's much more saucy on TV than it is in here.
Yes.
But it's also nice. And they, of course, all get, like, one-on-one time like you have on The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, and it's kind of just reading to see who's going to get the final rose. So it kind of drags on the thrill of The Bachelor and Bachelorette a little longer in a series.
So if you have read the book Home Before Dark by Riley Sager, I think you would really like the TV show on Netflix called Lock and Key. So Home Before Dark follows a girl who lived in a house for about 2 weeks when she was like 5 or 6 years old. Her parents move into this house, and it has this kind of like reputation as being haunted and scary. So she's living in this house, and she has very like almost no memories of it. And then after 2 weeks, her and her parents flee the house in the middle of the night, never to return. And it's now about 25 years later, and her father has recently passed, and in his will, he left her this house because he never sold it. Now, our main character, Maggie, runs a home renovation business. So she shows up, and she's like, this thing is huge. I'm going to renovate it and sell it, and it's going to give me some profit.
Okay.
But weird things start happening kind of the moment she steps through the door. And on the other hand, we have Lock and Key, who has a very similar kind of vibe to it, with a spooky haunted house where a family just moves from out of town into this small town in New England, which is where Home Before Dark is set as well. And immediately when they get there, weird things start happening in the house. They hear voices. They're not really sure if it's supernatural or if it's all in their mind kind of thing. So I think that the two give off very similar vibes. And both were kind of like spooky. They kind of made me heart palpitations a little bit. Yes. But they're really fun to watch. The show would be so fun to watch in the fall time. And I think reading the book around Halloween would also be a really fun kind of spooky thing to do. So I think those two go hand in hand together.
Yes. All right, so the next one I'm going to talk about is the Dark Elements trilogy by Jennifer L. Armentrout.
Our girl.
Yes, Lindsay and I were reviewing notes about what books we wanted to talk about in TV shows, and we realized that we actually think that this might be good reference to watch 2 TV shows. So
double the recommendations.
The one I would recommend for this is The Vampire Diaries. This is a series that wrapped up a couple years ago, but it was very popular in its prime. And the reason that I'm relating this trilogy to the TV show is because in The Vampire Diaries, you have Elena, who is a human. She meets Stefan and his brother Damon. Both of them are vampires. So you have the supernatural world going on in there. Mm-hmm. However, Elena first falls for Stefan. Stefan is the good guy. Stefan drinks animal blood, so he doesn't feed on humans. Stefan takes care of her. But then things kind of blur with Damon, and Damon is the bad guy. Damon kills humans for fun. He flips off his humanity switch and goes on killing sprees. He always takes the more dangerous approach to...
I love Damon.
I know, right? But that is why we're going to bring it back to this, because in this one, you have Layla. She's half demon, half gargoyle. And the good guy in this one is Zane. Zane is a nice guy. He's the gargoyle. They're kind of the protective supernatural species. And at first, it seems like they're not going to be able to, because... So Layla has an ability that makes it physically not possible for her to be with Zane, even if Zane and her have the same feelings towards each other. But then she meets Roth, who is the bad guy. She can physically be with him if she so chooses. And just like Damon, Roth may not seem like a good choice at first, but is he really?
I love Roth.
Or is Zane a good choice? Like, it makes you want to go in both directions, and it's like, choose this one, he's the right one for you. That is the main reason I think it's like Vampire Diaries. There's also some other supernatural stuff going on in here, just like in Vampire Diaries. I think that love triangle between the good and the bad guy, such a clear definition between the two.
Definitely similar.
Lindsay, what is your comparison for this one?
I thought that this book reminded me of the show Lucifer, because Roth is a demon. He's a prince of hell. So he's a prince of hell, and if you've watched Lucifer, Lucifer is the prince of hell. He's the main daddy of hell, actually.
He's the main devil of hell.
Yes. So the two are similar in their characters, and they're kind of like snarky, they're like sarcastic.
A little arrogant.
Oh, absolutely. They think they're God's gift to earth.
They think
Get it? Lucifer reminds me of like the adult version of this book.
Yes.
Definitely similar vibes.
Yes.
So
actually,
fun.
to talk about that, I think you're right with that, because both Roth and Lucifer are very like strong, dominant, badass figures, where it's also like, no one can mess with me, I'm the king demon.
Yes.
But then they meet in the book Layla, in Lucifer the Show, meets Detective Chloe, and both of the women, without even trying to, kind of make the guys bend a little. Like, they're like, you are the one person I need. Yes. Like, I need to protect you, and I will be good only for you. And so I think that that's a very good comparison with that.
Oh. You should read the book. You should read the series, and you should watch both shows.
Yes.
Okay, so then this next one is kind of a very obvious comparison, and, like, surface level, they're very similar, but, like, it doesn't go deeper than that. So if you've watched Cursed on Netflix, it is a King Arthur retelling, like a Legend of King Arthur retelling. Yes. Well, if you've watched that show on Netflix, I think you would really love Legendborn by Tracy Deonn, which is also a King Arthur retelling. So Cursed is set in the, like, 1400s in England, and Legendborn is set in modern day North Carolina. So the two, like I said, kind of have some things in common, kind of not. But the main thing is that they put a twist on the whole King Arthur retelling thing. And they're not, like, the women are not relegated to the typical roles. The men aren't either. So I feel like the two are similar vibes. How many times can I say vibes in this video? The answer is limitless.
I'm vibing with that.
Thank you. But in Legendborn, we're following a girl named Bree whose mother was recently tragically killed, and she is on her way to a college prep program at UNC Chapel Hill, where she gets to live on campus as a senior, I believe, and kind of prep for college the next year to go there, which sounds fun, and I don't know if that's a real thing in real life, but I like it. And when she gets there, she kind of figures out that there's some secret societies happening on campus that are related to the myth of King Arthur, or the story of King Arthur. I don't know if it's real or not.
The myth of King Arthur.
I don't know if he was a real person.
I don't know his highness very well, so.
I don't know him either. I'm a history major. I should know this stuff. I don't know. So there, direct comparison there. But it was just so fun. Like, so if you watched Curse and you're like, I need more content, or if you read Legendborn and you're like, I need more
content.
Do an exchange, watch it, the show, read the book, whatever you haven't done, do it. I recommend. It was a good time.
Alright, so the next one I'm going to recommend to you is The Heist by Janet Ivanovich and Lee Goldberg. This is the first book in I'm not really sure if there's a title for the series, but it's like a 7-book series that she's writing. And essentially, in this book, you have FBI agent Kate O'Hare, who is constantly hunting down criminals, and the big one that she's chasing right now is Nick Fox. And what ends up happening in the first part of the first book is that Nick Fox is able to work out a deal, and instead of going to jail for all of the numerous crimes that he should be, he is paired with FBI agent Kate O'Hare to be her criminal informant.
Oh, okay.
And if you have watched the show, you already know what I'm going to compare it to, but I would compare this to White Collar.
Oh, yeah.
I love White Collar. My dad and I have been to the season, like, I don't know, the series, my dad and I have been to the series, like, at least 3 times right now, and in White Collar, it's the exact same setup. You have FBI agent Peter Burke is paired with Neil. Neil is the criminal informant. He should be going to jail for all of the numerous crimes that he did, but he is not. He is paired with Peter. The only difference here is that in the show, it is 2 heterosexual guys, and in the book, it is 1 heterosexual female and 1 heterosexual male. I don't know why I'm calling him heterosexual. And I have not continued the series past the first book. I do plan to, but I would imagine the lines are going to be blurred. But White Collar and the book are so similar. Every new season or every new book has, like, a different event that's going on, and the criminal informant needs to kind of work out what's going on, how they can hunt down the criminal. The criminal informant gets to blur the lines a little bit because they're used to doing things on the shady side, and the FBI agent has to be like, no, let's keep it clean. I did not say you could do that. You can't do that. And the informant's like, yeah, okay, I got it.
Yes.
So I think that the two overlap very well. If you watch White Collar, you're going to enjoy this. If you have read this, you're going to enjoy White Collar. I keep gesturing over here because I don't have the book, but I looked it up on my phone, which is over here, so that's there. So go read and watch both of them.
So if you have seen the movie Hidden Figures, I think that you would really love the book, The Radium Girls. So Hidden Figures follows 3 women who, and they're both based off of true stories, which I think is the first point of comparison. But Hidden Figures is based on the true story of the women who made NASA possible, who made the moon landing a thing, who made space accessible.
I thought you were just going to leave it at who made space.
Who made space.
Space was created.
And that movie was fantastic. The women were such compelling characters, and the fact that they are real people just was amazing to watch. And I think that the book The Radium Girls has very similar tones. So The Radium Girls follows a whole bunch of girls who worked for a company that used radium to paint numbers on dials during World War I and sent them out to the troops stationed like in the Navy and such. And so these dial painters, as they became known as, it was a well-paying job, and so it was mostly women who were left on the home front to do it. And they would lick the paintbrush and dip it in the radium and then paint the numbers. And so they would essentially be eating radium. And they were told that radium was not harmful, that it was actually good for them. It had beneficial properties. But as you find out as you're reading the book, that the women who are doing the dial painting start to fall seriously ill, and they start to die. Oh my God. And so it's kind of their battle against the Radium Corporation, trying to, be like, this is a dangerous substance. So I think that the 2 books or the movie and the book are very similar in the fact that you're having women kind of going outside of those typical roles where the women who basically run NASA and got no credit for it, and also the women who made radium a dangerous substance, officially, and who fought for that to be recognized and didn't give up. So I think that the 2 are very similar, and I think that, they're both kind of sad in their own rights, but also so good, and you should definitely watch or read the book.
Alright, so I have saved the best for last for me. I am super excited to talk about this one. So this is American Royals by Catherine McGee. I've also read the second book to this. I think is it either The Majesty or just Majesty?
Majesty.
I am not sure if it's just going to be a duology or if she is going to come out with more of the series. The way that the second book ended, it could have been that way, but there also could have been a lot of spin-offs. Yeah. Or spin-off series or novellas.
Maybe she'll do a spin-off.
I'm hoping. But this is also a more recent series. This isn't 2015 kind of thing where she could be popping out anywhere. So the premise of this book, you have 4 points of views. You look at Princess Beatrice, who is the heir to the throne. You look at Princess Samantha, who is the younger sister of Beatrice, and she is what they call the spare to the throne. If anything, heaven forbid, were to happen to Beatrice, Samantha steps into that role. You have the schemer, who is Daphne Dayton. I'm going to talk about her in a second. And then you also have the commoner, Nina Gonzalez, who is just your regular person who's going to college, but who's also friends with Princess Samantha and her twin, Prince Jeff.
Prince Jeff?
Isn't it Jeff?
I haven't read it. That's a stupid name.
Yeah, it's Prince Jeff.
Prince Jeff.
Okay, he's Jefferson, but they all refer to him as Jeff.
It's a silly name. Jeff.
You're a silly name. What's wrong with Jeff?
I don't know. It just sounds like Prince Bart.
If you marry a guy named Jeff, I'm going to bring up this. Alright. So, I'm going to compare this to the TV show called The Royals. And the comparison here is that this focuses on America if it were to have been raised with a monarchy as opposed to a democracy. The show The Royals looks at the British monarchy. So, okay, it's a different country, but we're still looking at a monarchy here, and a lot of things overlap. For instance, Princess Samantha is the spare, and in the first few episodes of The Royals, you look at Prince Liam, who is the middle child. His older brother, Prince Robert, is supposed to be heading on to the throne. In the first few minutes of the very first episode, you find out that Prince Robert is dead. And so Liam transitions from being the spare now to the heir. So you have a little bit of overlap between Samantha and Beatrice, and Liam switching roles there. Daphne Dayton, the schemer, in this book, her one mission, in the very first chapter of her that you find, is she used to date Prince Jeff in this story. And Jeff broke up with her. Yes, you don't like Jeff, that's fine. Jeff broke up with her, but she's like, I need the fame. I need to be back in his life. He will marry me. And so, she's going for it, not because she loves him, but because of the spotlight. And in the show The Royals, you have Gemma. Gemma is Prince Liam's ex-girlfriend, but now suddenly that he's next in line to be king, she's back in his life.
Ah.
So there's a big overlap there. And so in this book, you have a little bit of a love triangle between Nina the Commoner, Prince Jeff, and another royal figure. I don't remember his name, but you'll get it there. And in the show, The Royals, you have the commoner Ophelia. She has a love triangle between Prince Liam and another commoner. So it's very much overlapping in this duology with the series. I will warn you that the TV show is a little bit more adult. There's a lot of like sexual references, drug references, not a lot of violence references, but this is definitely more YA. So if you transition from this book to that, or if you go vice versa, just keep in mind that there is kind of a maturity difference. However, this has made me re-binge The Royals. I was just watching it before Lindsay showed up to film. So I talked a lot, but I'm just very excited about it.
So the last book and movie comparison or TV show comparison that I have is if you liked Heroes, I think you should also read Renegades. So Heroes was this show on ABC, I believe many moons ago, and then it got a reboot, which I don't think as many people loved. But the first part of Heroes was like highly loved. People really loved the show. And it's kind of following teens who figure out that they have powers. Like they wake up one day with superpowers. And so it's kind of following their journeys as they become like global superstars, like phenomenons, from being ordinary people to not. And in Renegades, we're following a girl named Nova who she's got a complicated relationship with the heroes in her city. So in this world, we have the heroes who they're well known. They are like almost an organization of heroes, of people who have superpowers, and they're using them for good. And you can like go to this academy where you train to be a superhero and stuff. And she is the daughter of a super villain. And so she decides that she's going to infiltrate the superheroes and get back at them for what happened to her father.
Wow.
Yes. So you can clearly see the two comparisons, because in Heroes, some characters start off good and turn nefarious, or start off bad and turn good. And there's similar things happening in the Renegade series by Marissa Mayer. So I think that the two are so similar and fun, and they're both kind of YA. I believe Heroes is on Netflix, or at least it was when I watched it like a couple of years ago. So I'm sure you can find it to watch it. And then I think the reboot has recently been on. So if you like kind of superpowers, or if you like Avengers even, I think that this is kind of a fun YA version of that.
All right, well, that is our list. I don't know about Lindsay, but I'm going to apologize for mine, because I was very much all over the place, but I was just very excited to talk about all these shows that I'm like, want to go re-binge now after reading these books.
True.
So hopefully you guys all kept up with that. If you have any book and TV/movie comparisons that you want to make or you want to share, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and we'll check them out. We'll talk about them. We'll catch you guys in the next video.
Bye.